Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the One More Book podcast. My name is Florence, and I'm happy to have all of you here. Today, I have a special guest, someone that I know, someone that I've been lucky to meet. And we read this book, It's Not About the Burqa, edited by Mariam Khan in the book club. And I felt like she was the perfect person to discuss it with, even though the book club discussion was really nice. But I think it's just nice to have more and more conversations about such books. So that's why I invited her to the podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Aisha.
Hi, podcast.
Hi. So Aisha, please describe yourself to everyone.
I've actually been thinking of how to answer this question, and I have not managed to find the proper answer. But I guess now that I'm here and I don't want us to waste time, the words will come. But yeah, my name is Aisha. I am a software engineer by day. So I write codes during the day, and every other part or every other time in my life, I enjoy reading and talking about books and just connecting ideas. That's pretty much who I am.
Perfect. Welcome. Uh, and like you've said, you're an avid reader. Is that something that has always been part of your identity?
Um, I would say yes, and I'm hesitant because I have, you know how some people remember what they did when they were 3 years old or like 4 years old. I
Yes.
don't have those like memories for some reason. They're just cut off. But as earlier as I can remember, the earliest memory that I have as include or they include me reading some type of book. So it's just reading something. So I would say that this is very much part of my identity.
Okay. And is it something that is in your family? Did you grow up among readers?
Hmm. Interesting. I wouldn't say that. My dad, well, my family is an academia family, so in
Yeah.
the academic sense of things, yes, it's a family of readers. Because my dad is a professor, my mom is a teacher in a secondary school, so books have always been around. But in terms of
Mm.
like recreational reading or just reading for fun without any obligation, I would say it's a me being a pioneer sort of thing.
Quite interesting. You're also into traveling and baking and working out, something that you really embody very well on your YouTube channel. And I always love watching your the breads that you bake and how, how proud you always are when you present them. So when did this become part of your interest? Because I think we lock ourselves into singular hobbies. Like sometimes one person is only a reader and someone is. So how do all these connect with each other as you show them?
So the first social media platform that I like started showing myself on was Instagram, because I no longer actively use Instagram. And I think I was maybe 14 or 15 when I opened an Instagram account. I was really young. I was really
Yeah,
young.
yeah.
And the first like identity that I like was happy to show was being a Muslim woman that wears hijab. Um, I use that very long sentence because I no longer believe in the idea of calling myself a hijabi, which would is
Yeah.
discussed along the way. I'm sure there will be
Okay.
opportunities to discuss this.
Yeah.
But this was like very common. All the friends I had were like online showing fashion with hijab. So it was something that it was the only platform that I had to like open up and be online. And then I found a Muslim woman in Nigeria at the time that was into Bookstagram. So she was the I usually call her the OG Nigerian Bookstagrammer. Like she was the original, the actual template of Bookstagrammers in Nigeria. Her name is Zainab Titi. She used to go by Zainab Titi online at the time.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
that was when I thought, okay, yeah, I could show an identity of like books online. And so this is the identity that I've had online for the longest time. I mean, since I was 15 up until now.
Yeah.
Everybody that knows me online as that other Nigerian girl knows me along with books.
Mhm.
So when I opened my YouTube account, I opened it as a BookTube account. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is
Mhm.
going to be a BookTube slash YouTube account. It's a newbie tag. But I also knew that I wanted to expand like the identity that I had online. Because I'm not just made up of somebody that reads. There are times
Yeah.
in the month that books annoy me and I don't want to read anything. It's partly hormonal, but but yeah, my identity is not just revolving around reading, even though it's a big part of my identity online. So
Yeah.
when I started filming, when I included filming into my hobbies, it was
Yeah.
easier for me to just show my well-roundedness, like my everything that makes up who I am.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's easier to just lean into that rather than boxing myself up because of YouTube. I feel like if I was still active on Instagram, I would have felt the need to still remain one person online,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
avid reader.
That's a really great point to bring out because, as someone who also watches a lot of YouTube creators, especially BookTube creators, I love when they showcase other things, and sometimes I resonate even much more with the other parts of them than the books part. So I think it's amazing to show your all round interest. Yeah, and of course, like now going into this book that we both have read. What drew you to the book? It's not about the Burqa.
Yeah, okay. So, this is a very long time ago, so my memory is very foggy. But I remember that I used to write for Amalia.com. Amalia is an online magazine where
Yes.
Muslim women around from around the world would usually write articles to and contribute articles. But I think it has also evolved to a cultural magazine in the UK, still centering Muslim women, of course. But anyway, so I used to write for Amalia magazine, and one of the co-founders, Nafisa Baker, she contributed to It's Not About the Burqa, the anthology. So she was sharing it on our social media, obviously. So I became drawn to that, like, oh, an anthology of Muslim women talking about their experiences in the UK. And it was a first of its kind in at the time. I think it was published in maybe 2017 or something, like 2018 maybe, or 2019.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
she's also one of the contributors in the book,
yes,
yeah?
she
Yes.
also contributed to
Yes.
it. So I think the book was published either 2018 or 2019. It was definitely not 2020. So around the time it was the first of its kind. There's been different anthologies centering Muslim women voices across the world now, but at the time it was the first of its kind. So that was essentially what drew me to the book. And then in Manchester, when I moved to Manchester, they had this exhibition, the Big Ben Line Down, where they shared about 100 books that changed or that started serious conversations in the UK at the time. This was maybe 2021. And this book was one of the books that made up the exhibition. So I got a free copy. So
Oh,
that's basically my journey to owning a copy of the book.
oh, okay, wonderful. And have you ever had a chance to meet any of the authors? Because probably because you might be
Mm.
moving in the same circles.
Circle. I don't think so. I
Okay.
because I live most of them lived in London.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I wasn't able to, but I interacted with a bunch of them online a lot. So yeah.
Okay. 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 Wonderful. And as you were reading the book, and especially at that time, did it feel like this is a book that you were waiting for, or did it challenge you in unexpected ways? And even as you were going through the essays, did they feel familiar or unfamiliar to you?
At the time, I mean, obviously, I didn't read it at the time. I read it because I read
Yeah.
it March. I read it March this year, which is crazy because I was really looking forward to the book and then I waited till March this year to read it. But anyway, at the time, it was groundbreaking. It was revolutionary. Like, oh, a book with, I think it was published by Picador as well, like the very big publisher. So it was groundbreaking at the time. Or a book about Muslim women, and the title is It's Not About the Burqa. So you definitely know, as a Muslim woman, that they are going to explore things beyond, oh, you're wearing the hijab or you're wearing the niqab or whatever. So at the time, I was expecting it. I was looking forward to reading it. Even though I hadn't read it, I felt like it was going to be revolutionary, even for me. But when I read it this year, still, many of the topics that they talked about felt familiar to me.
Okay.
Even things that I didn't necessarily think about, but once I saw them writing about it, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, this is a valid experience. And even as some of the topics, I think the Muslim women's space, especially online, I think the if topics have evolved since 2019 when the book was published. But many of these essays, I think for non-Muslim women or just non-Muslims in general, I think many of them still going to be effective and groundbreaking for them because, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I concur. As someone who is a non-Muslim, but of course I have Muslim friends, and I think even we read it. I also read it this year, and it just gave me a new perspective because at sometimes you think my best friend is Muslim, so I usually think that I'm very at par with
Yeah.
how her life and her feelings and all that. But I think reading this just gave me even more insight into the person that she is. So yeah, I agree. And about the title is quite provocative. What do you think that people misunderstand most when they hear it?
So, I think there's a cultural context to the title as well, because the book is written by no, not black, British Muslim women.
Yes.
So black British Muslim women, non-black British Muslim women, just British Muslim women. But there's a cultural, I think I remember there was a cultural context to that particular title. So either 2018 or maybe 2018 or 2017, the Prime Minister at the time, was it 2017? Anyway, around the late 2010s. The Prime Minister at the time, his name was Boris Johnson. You might have heard of Boris Johnson. It
Yeah,
was
I know him
really,
with the funny hair.
yeah, his era was very disruptive. But anyways, so I think in the parliament, he said something about, or maybe he wrote an article he wrote an article calling Muslim women who wear the niqab, who cover their faces, calling them letterboxes. So, you know, in the UK, I don't know if it's the same, I don't think it's the same in Germany,
No, no, it's
but
not.
yeah,
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 the red
exactly.
letterbox with
The
the yeah
red letter boxes with them, and
with
then
the
you just
slit.
slot them. And it was so dehumanizing. Like, I get you don't want to, obviously, like it's strange for a bunch of people that you're talking to somebody and you can't see their faces. It's fine. It's a strange experience. I understand that. But comparing human beings, and not just human beings, women that have been
Women.
historically objectified, comparing them to letter boxes, it was
And then,
yeah, it was dehumanizing. So I
yeah.
think the title came from, I think the title is meant to be provocative, but also a direct response to that, but because it caused an uproar, it was obviously rightfully weird. So I think if somebody, lived in Britain at the time, they would be able to immediately tell, like, oh, this might be a response to what Boris Johnson said. But if not, like, if obviously you don't have the British context, you don't live in Britain, then I think for people it might be, oh, maybe the women are more than just covering up or more than what the media say. Because for many people, when they think of Muslim women, they literally think of the burqa, and the burqa is very niche. Not all Muslim women wear, not because the burqa is not the niqab, right? Like it's completely different and niche. So I think that might be what people would think about. Hopefully, they don't misunderstand, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I think it was a perfect title
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
even for someone who has no idea, it's interesting. So they would want to know what's actually behind it. And was there a specific essay or a voice in the collection that really stayed with you, and one that you didn't agree with or wasn't really relatable to you?
So pretty much all of the essays were relatable. Like I could tell, my experience, like, oh, okay, you might have gone through this, maybe not my personal experience, but I know that's a familiar experience. But I think one essay that really stayed with me was the essay by the lawyer Forgotten her name. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I have the book here now. I have the book here now. Yeah,
Perfect.
so
Yeah.
I guess I can just open it and check. Yes, it's How Not to Get Married or Why an Unregistered Nikah is No Protection for a Woman. So this I was very surprised by. It was written by Aina Khan. She's apparently a very popular lawyer in the UK. I was very surprised by this article because apparently not many Muslims register their marriage because nikah is what you Arabic, like it's an Arabic word for, the marriage that you do Islamically.
Yeah.
And you need to sign a nikah contract. Like it's basically what you do in the court, right? Like you sign a contract, some people are there, but within the bounds of the religion of Islam. So I always thought people would do the nikah and it's a valid marriage. But apparently, it's not in the UK. I think even generally, you need to take it to the court or something to notarize it that this is a valid marriage. And apparently, a bunch of people, they are against registering stuff with the law, and even the UK government, they don't have appropriate laws in place for British Muslims to be compelled to register their marriage. And they do have for Christian, like obviously in the UK, but also Jewish people, and then also very small minority. I've forgotten the name of this religion, but very small minority. Whereas the UK has a very large population of Muslims. So this essay was very eye-opening for me. Like, oh, okay, so this is an experience. So yeah, that essay stuck with me. The one essay that I feel like I did not agree with, but only because I felt like this author was conflating two different ideas, but different, but maybe almost similar ideas. And the essay is, funny enough, came before this other essay. It's A Gender Denied, Islam, Sex, and the Struggle to Get Some. So, in my personal life, I am a very strong advocate for Muslim women's sexuality. Talk about sex, enjoy sex, explore sex. I am a big advocate. I am not a sexual puritan. I don't even know what that is. Because for me, this is part of the human experience. And if you don't experience this and you are telling yourself that this is because of religion, then I'm sorry, it's on you. It's on you. So a part of this essay was making an argument for, Muslim women to be more open to sexuality, for cultures and society to destigmatize sex for Muslim women and not make it seem like, Muslim women are wayward or all over the place just because you feel sexual desires or you enjoy sex in your marriage. But then I felt like because in Islam, because we're still talking about Muslims, right? And yeah, there are some Muslims that are cultural Muslims, but it's different. Like still in Islam, every practicing Muslim knows that you are not supposed to have sex outside of marriage.
Yeah.
People do it.
Yeah.
It's like people do it. Everybody have their own like struggles and all, but you're not supposed to. And the understanding is that doing it or engaging in extramarital affairs, so if you cheat on your partner, these are very big, grave sins in Islam. This is what we know. Whether people do it or not is a different thing entirely. So a part of this essay was also, for me, trivializing the religious aspect of that, trivializing that aspect, and particularly making it seem like it's just cultural. So, the way culture stigmatize women enjoying sex,
Yeah.
she made it seem like, oh, not having sex outside of marriage is just a cultural stigma. Like, it's just something culture doesn't like. And this is not true. Like, I feel like we should be able to separate the facts and hold on to whatever you feel about the rulings, but also be factual. So I think that's the only issue that I had with that essay. It is what it is.
Okay. It kind of feels like for the author or maybe the person who wrote the essay, which is I think something the wider public is also guilty of, is between separating the religious part with the cultural part. And I think that's a really, really gray area. So I'm happy that the essay is there so that such discussions can be had. I
Yeah.
think even in the Muslim community. So
Yeah, I think so. And
yeah,
yeah, I think it's also important for readers to approach essays like this and also do the work of doing the separation in your own head, because reading is supposed to be it's supposed to engage your brain anyway. So, you know,
yeah, make you curious. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. And even the essay that you mentioned about the divorce lawyer, the phenomena also happens here in Germany, but more in I would say in the African community where,
Oh.
yeah, especially where there are some communities or people from certain communities who do these traditional marriages. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the way I think Nigerians and
Yeah.
Ghanaians, you have like the traditional marriage is really the official one in most communities, and usually when people do them I think to the community they're already married, so they find it really weird when they have to register it here actually. So
Mm.
it's also I would say it's something that supports patriarchy, because some men can get away with having more
Yeah,
than
people
more,
they
yeah,
they
yeah,
they misuse it a
yeah,
lot, but also particularly under polygamy, right? Like
yes,
even in the
yes,
UK, you find, because of, I think the author also mentioned this in the essay, you find a lot of men, Muslim men, marrying multiple women,
yes,
and because they don't register in a car, these women
yeah,
end up depending on child
yes,
support. So they exist like single mothers, but
yeah.
and the man will still come to the house to collect the money from the, like, anyway, she started said you people should register your car, and I love that.
100% for that, because it's for women. Yeah. And when you read the book, it brings together different Muslim women's voices. Did you feel like you were represented in the diversity, or did
Yeah.
you notice like gaps, like some that were missing? Some, yeah.
I mean, it's always going to be a fool's task. I don't know how to say that correctly in English, but it's like picking a needle in a haystack if you are trying to represent all Muslim women's experience in the world. It's
Yeah.
experiences are very, very niche. You would
Yeah.
find some people you share similar identities with across board, and
Yeah.
your rudimentary identities are like very different.
Yes.
But for me, I believe that across board, I felt represented. So, for example, there was one author, her name is Yasmin Abdelmajid. She's one of my favorite authors, like ever.
Yeah.
Her essay is, I think, yeah, life was easier before I was woke. She was talking about our experiences as because she's Sudanese by ethnicity, and then her parents moved to Australia, so she's Australian, and now she
Yeah.
lives in the UK. So she was talking about basically her identity, and also a feminist awakening of some sorts, because she's an engineer by profession and she used to work like oil rig engineer. So she used to work with men a lot. And I think our story I related most with because she's immigrants, like first generation immigrants, and I am an immigrant. I've been for quite a while.
Yes.
She's a black Muslim woman from an African country, Sudan. I'm a black
Yes.
Muslim woman from Nigeria. She used to work in a male dominated field. I work in a male dominated field right now. And
Yeah.
she moved to the UK at some point. I also moved to the UK at some point. Also had a feminist awakening. So anyway, our essay I felt very relatable, but there are also other black Muslim voices in there.
Yeah.
Um, there was an essay, I think, by Nafisa Baker, which I really liked and felt like it reflected my own ideas on things. It's on the representation of Muslims, terms and conditions apply. Yeah, so there are a bunch of different essays that I enjoyed, and I think it's good representation across board,
Yeah.
but you can't expect 100%
Yeah.
from
No,
any
no,
project.
no, absolutely not. I also I liked I think my favorite was the essay by is she what's the What's this country called? It's in East Africa.
East Africa.
Tanzania and Zanzibar.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
the one I think I remember.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember I don't know
yeah,
her name now,
yeah.
but
She's also dark skinned,
oh,
and she's
Rafia Rafik.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah. I really like that. Just for reasons that she's from East Africa.
Fair, fair.
And if you could, yeah, of course, if you if you noticed any gaps, if you could like add your own essay to the collection, what would it be?
So obviously, long time ago, almost 10 years since this book was published, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like I said, I think the conversations that we're having as Muslim women in the community is evolving. So, I think for me, to piggyback off of what I mentioned about the essay on a gender denied Islam, sex, and the struggle to get some, I think I would add an essay on Muslim women's sexuality and just experiencing sex, especially in the world that we are in, which is very hypersexualized. Like you cannot
Yes.
do anything without it being sexualized. Even the fact that wearing the hijab or the niqab or whatever, for a lot of people now in society is very, very, very sexualized. So, there's always this argument that, oh, the hijab protects you from objectification or whatnot. Maybe in the past. Now it's a different ball game. By the virtue of wearing the hijab, you existing in some places, you are even hypersexualized. So I think it would be nice to add that sort of essay. But also off of the hijab, because it's not about the burqa, it's the title of the essay. I recently came to the realization that I don't want to use the term hijabi anymore for various reasons, which I've discussed with my friends, but also thought about. And I think it would be nice to write an essay to explore that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Maybe hopefully they can be like the next part, like an
Yeah, it would be
version
interesting.
two. Yeah, edition
It would be
two.
interesting.
Yeah. Or maybe you could write one,
Who knows?
just so how would you describe your feminism and what does it look to you or for you as a black Muslim woman?
Um, I think my feminism is intersectional. That's since I discovered that word when I was younger, this has always been my mantra. My feminism is very intersectional and also flexible. So, because I don't know all the experiences in the world, right? If I meet somebody whose experiences are very niche and the misogyny in the society affects them in very niche ways that I've never thought of experience, my feminism is flexible enough to accommodate that and intersect it along with my own experiences. So I remember the first time I read this book by Nakate something. She's an environmental activist, pretty much like Greta Thunberg, which I feel bad now because I remember Greta's full name and I don't remember her full name, but I think she's from Uganda. And I found her on Twitter a bunch of years ago, and then I read her book I think in 2023, and she was talking about ecofeminism. She was speaking about ecofeminism, and it made sense in theory, but in practice. So a bunch of women would have to travel far to fetch water, because of global warming and all of the drama and trouble that we are causing the planet. And because of that, they face even more violence, violence as they travel to get water, but also violence at home from their male partners because water is not available. And how it affects even schooling of girls because, the logic of misogyny does not make sense. Girls are weak, but they should also be the ones to care for their brothers. The logic doesn't make sense. But anyway, when I read the book and I thought of that, it made sense to me because we say, oh, ecofeminism in theory, but in practice, like there are women whose lives, this is their lived experience, right? So yeah, my feminism is very, very intersectional and very flexible. But within boundaries, obviously. We don't want to be flexible for women that oppress us or, they also cause oppression in the society. We don't want to do
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, with terms and conditions applied.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you feel like your feminism, or does it does this does your feminism, is it being is there room for it in the feminist spaces, for your voices like
For my
yours?
voice. Yeah, so for me, you would not find me in spaces that are not intersectional because that's the core value of my feminism. So if there's a feminist space and it is not intersectional, then I'm not there. I'm not even going to be there to begin with. So it might be an intersectional feminist space that is not yet familiar with a unique experience, but it's going to be intersectional. So you will not find me in spaces where their views on Muslim women is very rigid. You would find me in spaces like if Lola Olufemi's Feminism Interrupted book was, because she has this book, Feminism Interrupted. If that book was a physical space, like a feminist coalition, this is where you would find me because it's a good book, by the way, like Feminism 101. Everybody should read that book. But the thoughts that she has in that book is very, very nuanced, very flexible, very accommodating, and that's the kind of places I would want to be in. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, nice, nice. So we can move to the other side of what you love doing, and which is traveling. And because you've lived in different countries, and let's just say different continents, do you experience the places that you travel to differently as someone who is traveling and as someone who is living there? Like if you compare the two experiences.
So I know that people say, oh, you should solo travel in your life. It's such a good experience. But me, I would never solo travel to anywhere except, places that I've been to, places where they speak English or hopefully German because I'm learning my German. So hopefully German at some point. But
Yeah.
if it's a place where their main language is not a language that I'm familiar with, I would never solo travel there. And the reality is, I am aware of my trifecta. I am a black Nigerian Muslim woman that wears the hijab. Your passport already puts you, well, my passport already puts me in a very weird place, right? I am physically a black woman.
Yeah.
People are getting kidnapped and sold into slavery. I don't want to do that. But also, I wear the hijab, so
Yeah.
I am very aware you should not be naive in this world.
Yeah.
You should not go into the world with, pessimistic views, but you should also not be naive. So for me, this is always my mantra in life. But for places where I have traveled to and also lived in, I feel like my experiences have been unique. Maybe not unique to me, but unique to somebody that's probably is like me. So I grew up in Nigeria for first 20 something years of my life. I grew up primarily in Nigeria. I would travel to different places within the year, but I grew up primarily in Nigeria. And I always say, and if a non-Muslim Nigerian hears this, they'll probably say, you're just being too much or whatever. But this is my experience, right? So I grew
Yeah.
up in southwest of Nigeria, which is like Lagos, the very popular Lagos, Ogun State side of Nigeria. And it's not a stereotypical like major Muslim area of Nigeria. If you ask any like main Nigerian, they will probably just say, "Oh, the Muslims in Nigeria are primarily in the north half of Nigeria, and in the south they are primarily Christians, and in the southwest they are mixed." That's the general stereotypical view. This is not right, obviously, because there are different people practicing different religions everywhere. It's not going to be different for Nigeria. So, but still growing up in southwest of Nigeria, Muslims were not like they were not mainstream. So you have like Muslims that were just cross-cultural Muslims, Muslims that were not really practicing, and any Muslim that is seen as strictly practicing, you might get the vibe that people think you're doing too much. So, so my first experience of discrimination, you would say, in the side of Nigeria that I grew up in is for being a Muslim woman or a Muslim girl that wore the hijab, especially because of the hijab. So the hijab is very out there. It's like, oh, you are covering your hair, and for some people their faces. So it's very a lot for people. So my first experience was always what you would term Islamophobia, but then also Boko Haram activities started in Nigeria, so it just fueled a lot of things, right?
Yes, yes.
But then when I moved to Qatar, because I lived in Qatar for a bit after I moved out of Nigeria, in Qatar, everybody, you find hijab everywhere. People are covering their hair everywhere. Not everybody, you don't have to primarily cover your hair in Qatar, but they are everywhere. So you covering your hair is not, it's just one of those things. But my blackness comes, like I'm black, it's just very obvious. It's so obvious. And it was my first, I've read about racism and anti-blackness and whatnot, but that was my first time experiencing being black, like actually being physically black in a space. So it was an interesting experience. And this is always the case for when I travel to places where the hijab is not a big deal. Like there's nothing revolutionary about you wearing the hijab in these spaces. Whereas when I moved to the UK, it's a completely different experience.
Now everything is
Everything is cross.
intersecting. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's the same for Germany as well.
Yes.
So now you are a Muslim woman that is black, very, very, like I'm not racially ambiguous. If you see me, you know that I am from an African country.
Yes.
And I wear the hijab. Wow. So now what I have noticed is that for a lot of people, they don't really know how to handle things.
Yeah.
So some people would be very, very blatantly Islamophobic to me. But for the most part, what I would experience would still be the shock of seeing that blackness. And this even would exist in Muslim spaces in the UK, in these countries, in Europe. So my blackness is always still the most prominent feature. And I think the trifecta, these three different experiences, is very unique to somebody that you know would be like me. But it has also changed the way that I approach traveling. Like I said, I don't just travel anywhere. I need somebody with me, and
Yes.
everybody needs to know where I am at all times because I understand the nuances. But I also don't allow it to stop me from experiencing, what I want to experience. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Thanks for sharing.
It's a lot.
No, but that's something for others to think about because I think we take a lot of things for granted,
Yeah.
and I think especially in the feminist movement where I think someone would say, travel when you're young and you're still out travel around the world. It's
Yeah.
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 So
Don't travel. I mean, travel, but travel with your eyes wide open.
yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing. And would you say that traveling in these areas that you've been able to travel safely and at your own time, has it changed the way you see yourself or your identity?
Not really, no. I wouldn't say that. I mean, it has opened my worldview. For example, what I just mentioned earlier, I now know that in some spaces, people just see me as black, and that's their business. Like, or no, that sounds like an insult. That's their view of things.
Yeah.
And in some other spaces, I'm just a woman that wears the hijab, or you are just that black girl. I mean, I'm sure for some people it would even be weirder, like, oh, you are from a third world, quotes and unquote, country, and you also wear a symbol of backwardness, because there are people that view it this way. But I'm not going to internalize that. I am just a, girl that is from Nigeria and enjoys traveling. So if you see me that way, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I think my identity still stands. It's just I know what it can look like now to some people.
Okay. And of course, as someone who's also lived in different countries, what does home mean to you now after you've lived in all these different countries?
Different countries. To be honest, I think the most recurring theme so far is that home is where I have people that I love, people that love me back as well. And also home is where my books are, of course.
I
So
wanted to add that the last time we talked and you said, yeah, we can record when I'm back home, and home
yeah,
meant
I was
Germany.
like, yeah, I was like, oh, when I'm back home and I am home, right? Yeah, so it's this is so when I think of home, I think Nigeria, the UK, specifically Manchester and Qatar. This is at least Doha in Qatar is going to be home for a bit, for quite a while. So if that does change, maybe, it will stop being home. And if, I hope everything goes safely in Germany and Germany doesn't become weird. But yeah, it's going to remain, these places are going to remain home. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
home is where love and books are, I guess.
Yeah, okay. That's nice. And what advice would you give to younger Black Muslim women who are navigating the spaces that you've talked about, whether it is traveling or maybe they're studying abroad or even they're back home, but also experiencing some of the experiences you've had, or also just growing up. I mean, just being,
Yeah, just
yeah,
existing.
yeah, just existing. Yeah, yeah,
So, oof. So this is always a difficult one because where do I start from? But yeah, I think one thing that has maybe been constant for me, and I know this is a privilege, like 100% recently realized and came to the realization that this is a privilege. Growing up in a place where, like I mentioned in Nigeria, the only thing I had to contend with was, oh, you wore the hijab, and some places they didn't like it. But for the most part, I saw people wearing hijab around me. And it was a culture, it is, I don't know if it still is, but while I was growing up and living in Nigeria, it is a cultural norm for you to greet any like fellow Muslim woman you see whilst you are outside. So you don't have to know this person. You once you just see, so like the hijab is very, very prominent in Nigeria. It's so out there, right? So I don't know about in other parts of Nigeria, but in Southwest, it was a norm, or it is a norm for you to say, so we say it in Arabic, like Salaam alaikum, basically, peace be
yeah,
upon you. And the usual reaction is pretty much like, oh, walaikum salam. Like, oh, it's like, I recognize you. Basically, like the black nod, like the way you
yes,
nod at a black person when
yeah,
you see
yeah,
them.
yeah,
So I think that brings me to my point. It's very important to have self-love. I know people say like, oh, love yourself and all of that. They say it a lot. But I think it's not just like loving yourself in however you describe love. It's, you need to like yourself. You need to have self-preservation. That's the word. That's the word I'm looking for. So self-preservation, choosing yourself, loving yourself, correcting yourself, being kinder to yourself, self-preservation. If a lion is chasing you now,
yeah,
like if you just see a lion, you start running
yeah,
because the first thing you think about is, I need to get away from danger. I
yeah,
think that's the feeling. You need to have that self-preservation. So we don't know what will happen in this world. Yes, so you might make wrong decisions. Life might happen. You might lose your job, but it's the ability to always choose yourself. That's self-preservation. For me, it has helped me in so many different aspects of my life, through moving across different countries, through navigating, understanding myself without even knowing where my mind was at, like getting to know myself. It's
yeah,
just that feeling of wanting to always save yourself. It might be inherently selfish, or some people might consider it inherently selfish,
yeah,
but you are a woman.
yeah.
So
Put
choose
on your mask
yourself.
first. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. In the
yeah,
plane, they always tell you to wear your mask before you. So you need to have that self-preservation, because
yeah,
that's the only way I can describe it. Maybe definitely not self-love. Self-preservation is, this is important to grow it, and it is a skill.
yeah,
So people, let us all remember, and I say people, but I also try to remind myself, everything in this world is a skill. Like, you are learning a skill. You are trying to learn something different. You are trying to learn a new language. You are trying to learn how to eat healthy, go for a run or whatever. Everything in this life is a skill. So growing your self-preservation is also a skill. So we need to be kinder to ourselves as we
yeah, yeah. I
grow.
agree. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I think, and it's also something that I think we are not culturally, I would say, raised to do
Yeah.
as women, and especially as Black women. We are always the caretakers somehow. So
Yeah.
it's unlearning and relearning
Yeah.
such things. Yeah. So if listeners can take away one thing from this conversation or from the book, what would you want that to be?
Hmm. I think nuances, nuances exist in this world. And my favorite thing is being flexible enough to accommodate new nuances whilst being not rigid, but like solid in your own understanding.
Okay.
Not rigid, absolutely not rigid, because you need to still be flexible, but solid in your understanding. So you don't feel like once you see a new nuance, you start shaking in your own, and then you want to just pick every nuance you encounter. But at the same time, you need to be flexible enough to incorporate nuances into your own core, the core that makes up. I know it's very like confusing for some people. It's like, oh, there's so many different ideas. What do they call it? There's a term for it in psychology, I think. It's like holding multiple dialectical thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, holding multiple, maybe conflicting ideas at the same time. Not many people know how to do that, to be honest. You find it in arguments when people are arguing.
Yeah.
It's very, very rigid. But nuances, it's important to be able or be flexible enough for nuances. So, with the essay that I mentioned, me not liking, like, I didn't outrightly say I didn't like the essay. I just said, oh, a part of it I definitely agree with and I can see but a part of it I felt like I think this is what I would say a person should take away from this book, the ability to be flexible, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think even on your answer, I think it could even apply to just people need to be in community, because I think
Mm.
when you're in community with people, it doesn't even matter in your WhatsApp group or just your friendship circles, then you can actually practice living, having different ideas, having
Mm.
like being in a room where the nuances are there, so everyone can talk about their part, have just knowing that everyone can have an opinion, because I think sometimes we we put ourselves in these bubbles where we are having the same thoughts, so
Yeah.
you're just bouncing, you're in this bubble and the same things are just bouncing around you, and I feel
I
like that can even have, I see that even in Substack.
mm,
I try to move a bit out of the same Substack,
thoughts.
yeah, thoughts, that
Yeah.
because I just don't want to close myself off, because I think that can really be detrimental to my own ability to
To
enhance
think.
my
Yeah.
thoughts. Yeah, yeah. So
I mean, I think this is the point where I also probably need to clarify that nuances does not exist with like people's identities or like discrimination. There's no nuance with racism.
yes, yes, yes. Of course.
Let's
So
be serious.
yeah.
So, exactly. You can say, oh, there are different communities exist within what we term blackness, and some white people are like, low income. Those are nuances.
Yes, yes.
Racism is not
Yeah.
nuance.
Yeah.
Systemic racism, there's no nuance there. It's
Of
this or
course.
that. So I need to clarify that, because I feel like people also utilize this like, oh, can't I have my own thoughts? And the thoughts
No.
is you are Islamophobic or you are homophobic or something. No, no, no.
No.
Exactly. So let's
Yeah. All the isms should be on the other side.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's be
Exactly.
serious.
Okay, thank you for that. So we are moving into the very fun part of the
Okay.
discussion. So this is a quick fire book lover edition. So you just say the first thing that comes to your mind, and of course you can. I think there is freedom to mention even two or more if
Nuances.
yeah, nuances are allowed. Okay, so physical books or ebooks?
This is always nuanced. So physical book and ebook. But I feel like now I'm very much ebook still, especially when I'm carrying a small bag, a girl, you're going out and your purse is very small. I can't put a book in that.
Yes,
Sorry. And there has to be a book in my bag always. So
yes.
ebook on my phone or my iPad or something.
Okay, okay. Annotating or keeping books pristine?
Oh, I'm sorry to the people that keep books pristine. Annotate that book so that when you sell it second hand or you donate it, somebody can experience your thought process. Annotate it.
Yes. That this part really gives me like stressed when I borrow books from people, because then I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not really reading the book if I don't annotate
You
it.
can, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Or library books. So I'm just like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure if you check books in Manchester and you
yeah.
find like some underlining or something, I'm pretty sure it was me that did it.
Guilty as charged. Yeah. Okay. Reading one book at a time or multiples at once.
So I don't believe in polygamy in like love relationships, but in books, be as polygamous as possible. Why are you reading just one book? I'm reading 3 books right now, I'm sure. I'm listening to one, Azadi it's a collection of essays by Arundhati Roy.
Yes.
I love that woman. But yeah, I'm reading a am I reading a physical book? Yes, actually. It's a collection of stories from Sudan, from Khartoum in Sudan. Wait, hold on. Let me see what the title is. The Book of Khartoum. It's a collection of essays or stories from Khartoum in Sudan, because obviously we need to read more Sudanese literature. And
Yes.
I think I'm reading a poem. Yeah, I'm probably reading a poem somewhere
Okay.
as well.
Okay. Okay. Same. I do that too. A book that changed how you see the world. It can be more than
Okay,
one.
this is. I mean, when did I
Or
start
maybe
documenting my reading?
we can
Okay,
say these recently.
okay, yes. Let's say recently. That's better. Okay, no, I'm going to start with the book that literally changed how I see the world, and how I see reading, my reading world, and that is The Joys of Motherhood by Buche Mecheta. I first read that book when I was 12. I don't know what I was thinking. I was 12. So, I'm going to always tell this story. My mom, she teaches in a secondary school.
Yeah.
So I think a student was reading the book in her class because she teaches maybe maths or something. So definitely no literature. So a student was reading this book in our class and she seized the book as a,
Yeah. Punishment.
disciplinary,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
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 So she brought the book home and she kept it somewhere. And I was bored and I was like, oh, let me find something. And then I saw the book. This is like the old edition, just a
Oh.
random Igbo woman with a child on her back. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I was
Yeah.
12.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
then I started reading it and my mind was open to a world where characters exist that look like me, that feel like me, that, bear Nigerian names, even though not from a culture where I am from an ethnicity where I'm from.
Yes.
Ethnicity, no, tribe. Tribe is the right word.
Yeah.
Tribe where I'm from. But, it's set in Nigeria, colonial Nigeria, but still Nigeria that I'm familiar with. And so that was my introduction to the idea that books exist with people that look and feel like me. So
Yeah.
that book definitely changed my life. My literal life is based on that book. The recently though, I feel like Azadi that I'm reading currently, it's non-fiction collection of political essays or activist essays, you would
Yes.
say. Um, Primarily it's Arundhati Roy criticizing the, I guess, ethnostatism of like India, like what India is becoming or has become, and speaking up for the minority tribes or minority groups in India. So Muslims, Indian Muslims specifically, and also people in Kashmir. And hearing I'll talk about the history, especially, history with like India, Pakistan, and
Yeah.
Bangladesh before the partition, and how land, occupation, things like that. It's has opened my eyes like further to experiences. I think because I have an Indian colleague,
Okay.
and when I read one of the essays, I asked him directly because he's Christian, and I
Yes.
asked him that because Arundhati said in the book that Indians that are religious minorities now converted to their religion, their respective religions. So Christian Indians, Muslim Indians, and like non-religious Indians
Yes.
converted to that to escape the caste system of Hinduism. This is one of the things that I thought, oh, that's interesting. I never knew of, I knew of caste, but I didn't know of that.
Yeah.
And so I asked my colleague at lunch randomly, like, oh, I'm reading this book and this is what she said in the book. Can you confirm this or can you give me your opinion on this? And he was like, yeah, that's, this is typically people's experiences. And so for me, that's literally opening my eyes to the way that I see the world. So anybody should read books by Arundhati Roy,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I finally haven't read. Well, I read her memoir.
The one.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
saw.
Yes. Yes.
I actually borrowed it because of your review. I borrowed it because of your review. So I have it
Yeah.
pending.
Yeah. So and I think how exactly her thoughts on especially the political side of India. I love that part. That's actually the most part that I would still, if she had written only that, I would read that. So I think your book, the one that you've read, will definitely is something that I
Oh,
would
you would
like
love
to
it.
read.
You
Yeah,
would love it.
yeah, yeah. Because I don't know. Maybe it's also weird that I'm separating the artist from the work. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love your work, yeah, but I'm like, okay, what her life story, what made her who she is. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's she
I
is.
can imagine.
That's after like this is like she is an amazing writer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she has lived through it. So I mean, everything she writes is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that you definitely have your reservations, but I love Arundhati Roy in all her complexity. You know how complicated I've not read the book, but I know that she has spoken about having complicated relationship with her mom several times. I
It's but
She's
I think
probably an example. No, sorry, carry on.
no, I think it's what makes her fascinating. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So looking forward to reading that too. Okay, then what is your favorite genre right now?
Oh, wow. Oh my God. This is always difficult, I guess. But it's even especially difficult now because I think I'm starting to really enjoy non-fictions a lot. Typically I would gravitate towards historical fiction, typically. So
Yes.
historical fiction or literary fiction, typically. And mostly women's story. I mostly always gravitate to women's story. And I think it's partly because of the book I mentioned earlier, The Joys of Motherhood, because
Yes.
it molded my reading taste, so to say. So, and before then, I always read like Muse and Bones and Ali Queens and a lot
Yes.
of romance. So
Yes.
that's or that reading that book molded how I approach literature. So I would say historical fiction, literary fiction, but now definitely non-fiction, but non-fiction that is not aspire to perspire. So not self-help, not self-help, not necessarily self-help. I do enjoy some self-helps,
Yeah.
and most of the self-helps I always enjoy are typically written by women because they always bring in that nuance, and you can always tell their lived experiences existing as a woman would influence the kind of advice they give.
Yeah.
But I also think like non-fiction, but maybe activist like essays. So I really enjoy Azadi by Arundhati Roy, like I mentioned. But I also mentioned Feminism Interrupted earlier by Lola Olufemi. These are books that they're not fiction, but when I read them, my mind is just opens. Like I get that light bulb moment. So
Yes, yes.
complicated human being. But yeah, but yeah.
Okay. What is a book that you couldn't finish and why?
Recently or in
Recently.
general? Okay,
Recently.
recently.
Yeah.
And I feel bad, so maybe I will go back to this book. It's this book called Atborn by Nora Ephraim. I don't know. It's a it's a classic actually, and this author was the one that wrote When Harry Met Sally. She used to be she's a screenwriter, so she writes
Okay.
all these very
Okay.
popular romance. When Harry
Yes,
Met
I know it.
Sally, Love in
Yeah, I know
exactly.
it. Yeah.
So she wrote this book after like a couple years after she divorced her husband, and the husband cheated on her when she was pregnant.
Oh,
So the
okay.
character in the book, the blog basically says, "Oh, I found out my husband was cheating on me whilst 7 months pregnant," and I was like, "Oh, I'm very interested in reading this. It's very dramatic." And then I started reading it, and it's just weird. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it. So I've just shelved it. I
Okay.
might read it again, or I might just donate it because I bought it second hand.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
sad. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And also there's this one that I'm always talking about whenever I talk to people. It's when as lemon tree grows.
By Khalid. Khalid? Or is
Yeah,
it by Khalid?
she's
Or,
she's a
yeah.
Syrian, like I remember
Yeah.
she wrote the book. She was very young, maybe 19 or something when
Yeah.
she wrote the book.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know loved this book.
Yeah.
The book irritated me so much. I was irritated. And I think part of why I was is because I don't think the book was edited properly.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like a lot of things should have been edited out of that book. Should have just been, I felt like a lot of places were repetitive and it was just irritating me. Like, you know, that African auntie, you don't have
Yeah.
patience. I was so irritated. And I felt so bad because it's a book set in Syria and it's about
Yes.
characters, going through the long Syrian war.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to love the book, but no, I can't get behind that book. Sorry. But maybe you should try it. I'm sure you've read it, right? Like,
No, I haven't read it. I've seen it
okay.
too quite a lot, but I haven't. I think for me, I was a bit. There's another also very popular author, Khaled
Oh,
Hosseini.
Khalid Hosseini.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So someone I read in a like a TikTok video, like a comment. Someone wrote a comment and said that people should be worried about, especially, I mean, I think he meant like white people should be worried about reading these books and letting them form their own, like their opinions
Opinion.
about
Yeah.
existing as a Muslim person or person living in a
In other countries. Yeah.
yes, because he said like some authors are very or the way they write is very pro American.
Yeah. And Khalid
Yes,
Hosseini is one of
yes,
those authors.
yes, yes. So
But
I
I
was like,
think,
I was like, okay, I need to rethink my TBR after, like,
yeah.
yeah,
Do you know what? Very
yeah,
fair argument. And even me, I know that. And I've read all of Khalid Hosseini's books, by the way.
yeah.
I've read all of his books. He's also one of the authors I read when I was still a teenager. And then I read it up until the last book he published a couple years ago, the picture book.
Yes.
So I've read all of Khalid Hosseini's books. But I think, and this is a very good point, by the way, it's a very, very good point. But I think it would only become a problem for readers that don't read widely to begin with.
Yeah.
Because when I said I think I read what's the very first one he published?
Is
No,
it
and the
Kite
mountain.
Runner? Kite,
No,
not Kite.
funny enough, I read Kite Runner in 2019.
Okay, I haven't read it.
So I read It's a good book. I wouldn't even lie, it's a good book.
Okay.
But I read The Mountain's Echo. That was his first book I read. I was 16. I was very young. And then I read the other one, the very popular one, A
Splendid
Thousand Splendid
Sons.
Sun.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then I read Kite Runner when I was well in my 20s. So different phases of my life. But the thing about reading his books is that when I first read his book, I was interested in reading books by Afghan women, like authors that, you know, not just Khalid Hosseini, like, oh, let me read Khalid Hosseini. And then I read all of Khalid Hosseini's books and then I allowed that to form my opinion. No,
Yes.
I was interested in especially an Afghan female writer. And this is how I discovered this woman. And by the way, you should read her books. I 100% recommend her over Khalid Hosseini. Her name
What's
is Nadia Ashimi.
Nadia Ashimi? Okay, you'll need to send me this list.
I will send you the list, don't worry. Nadia Ashimi. Ah,
Okay.
God, she's such a brilliant author. And I think she does. I used to follow her on Goodreads, by the way. Like, she was my friend on Goodreads because I was
Okay.
obsessed with her and I wanted
Yeah.
to see the kind of books she read. So
Yeah.
I love this woman. So I'm biased. But, but I felt the things I didn't feel in Khalid Hosseini's books. So again, Khalid Hosseini is a brilliant writer. I cannot
Yes.
deny
Of
that.
course.
He's also leaning pro US.
Mm,
And
mm.
but also the reality is that a lot of Afghan had to move to the US
Yes.
when, so these are the nuances that exist.
Yes.
But Nadia Ashimi is very nuanced in her writing. So, and she has a lot of books. So she writes across board.
Okay.
Her first book that I read is When the Moon is Low. Prepare to cry. It's a heartbreaking book. And but when I said, okay, I read Khalid Hosseini's books and then I started looking for authors, I also read when I was 16. So it balanced out my view. So I think this idea of falling into, boxing people up
Yes. Yes.
would only happen to people that don't read widely. Like you
Yeah.
just pick an author and you say, oh, this is my
Author by author.
exact. I mean, I have an author by author, but also explore different stories. And the more, because I think you read a book last month by an Afghan American author,
Yes. Patmina
Pat.
Singh.
Yeah.
Patmina. Yeah.
So when I watched your video, my mind, I was blown because Nadia Ashimi for the longest time was my go-to female Afghan author. So I'm always looking for new Afghan author. There's also this book, I would include it in my list. There's this book, I read it maybe 2022, a couple years ago. It's an anthology. My pen is the wing of a bird. It's an anthology of translated stories from Afghan women living in Afghanistan at the
Oh.
time.
Okay.
But again, this is what I'm saying. So I read Khalid Hosseini, brought me to Nadia Ashimi, brought me to that anthology. When I saw that anthology, I was like, oh, I need to get this book. And I got a
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah.
So this is how a reader's journey should be. You should
Yeah.
not, yeah, you should not use one author. So now you read Chimamanda Ngozi
And,
Adichie and you say,
and
that's how Nigeria is. Exactly. So you need to explore more authors. So
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a very easy slope, slope to slide on. Like
yeah,
when you're like you don't want to do the work because it's work trying to diversify your
it
reading.
is.
So I think it's a bit for lazy readers. A warning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and what is an overhyped book? And be
Oof.
honest.
Atomic Habits. Please.
Oh,
You
okay.
people should be serious. Atomic Habits. Like I'm sure there are good tips in that book, but let's be serious. Especially, I'm sorry, especially women. You have to
Yeah,
be very serious with yourself with
yeah,
this. So read, just like you said, don't read a book and say, okay, yes, this is the,
yeah,
use your inner voices.
yeah.
So for example, I haven't read Atomic Habits and I
Oh,
probably would never read it, to be honest, because it's an overhyped book. No. But a book that I read that is also self-help, it's The Energy Fix. It's by I can't remember her name, but the energy, I would hopefully remember to send you all of this list.
yes.
And basically, she also gives tips on how to, get your energy up and be more productive and all of these things. But you can tell that it's very nuanced. And for me, it's very tailored to my lived experience. Put in the fact that you are, a woman, your cycle fluctuates. You have exactly. You cannot be reading books like Atomic Habits when you're a woman that goes through luteal phase, and you think. I mean, again, these books have good tips in them, but
Intentions, yeah.
they should not be that overhyped.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's be serious. Same
yeah.
with um The Alchemist.
Mm, mm,
Sorry, no. Mm-mm.
yeah.
No.
And I have to be honest to say that as someone who read the Atomic, I can't remember what it's about. Like I feel like it did not make an impact on me.
Exactly. Exactly. And you're a mom, by the way. You have
Yeah, yeah,
three
yeah.
kids? Don't you have three
I
kids?
have 2 kids. I have two
You have two
kids.
kids. Okay, you have two
Yeah.
kids. Even sorry, but that's a lot of work.
I
That's
was,
already a lot of work.
I was like, who exactly influenced me to get this book? I can't even, I'm just like it. And I'm in the group of people who think that there are books that should be, because people, I think someone said that it was an essay or something like, and then he turned it into a book. So some things should just stay as essays. Um, and this pressure to turn a wonderful thought into a book, it's like something
It can
should
just be
just,
a thought.
yeah, yeah, just let it
I mean,
stay
I'm
as thought.
sure it has worked for people. I cannot
Yeah,
deny that. I'm sure
yeah,
it has worked for people, but it should not be a Bible. Like,
yes.
no. Oh my God.
Okay, then reading at home or reading while traveling.
Definitely reading at home. I'm
Okay.
not traveling to read, sorry. But obviously, I will still read. Like,
Yeah,
I will still have a book in my bag or
yeah.
books in my bag,
Okay,
but definitely
obvious.
reading at home.
Okay, a character you deeply related to recently.
Recently, I like how you are just appending recently. So, recently, wow. Recently, I can't. Okay, yeah. So I read the Brotherless Nights by Vivi Ganesh something.
Ganesh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's a no, wait, no, she's a Sri Lankan author. I was about to say Nepalese.
Yes.
She's not Nepalese. She's Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
Um, the book is basically historical fiction again, and it follows this character Sashi, I think is her name, if I'm not forgetting the name of this character, and she's the narrator of the book. So the book started off from 1983, I think,
Yeah.
when this was at the beginning of the, I guess, civil war in Sri Lanka. So 1980 something. And it's set primarily in Jaffna, but then also in Colombo, which is the capital of the country. And
Yeah.
so we follow from 1983 to 2009, and we are following this character, primarily a voice. And it's a book about war, obviously,
Yeah.
but Sashi, I really like her character. She's the only daughter in a family of boys. And that's also primarily why the book is Brotherless Nights. So you get to see
Okay.
why the book is titled Brotherless Nights in the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Sashi is such an empathetic character. She's so empathetic. She shares the empathy with the readers. There's something to say for, obviously, like when you're reading a book, you connect to the reader, to the character, you like their thoughts, or you find it like you resonate with it. But Sashi brings the reader into the story by including them in her empathy. So the one place that I noticed this was she was talking about the sorrow that a community felt when their city library was burnt down. And that alone is already like so beautiful. She's a reader and they felt sorrow in their hearts because the city library was burnt down
Yeah.
by,
Yeah.
I think, a Sinhalese mob. So Sinhalese people are the primary, I think, tribe in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So then she was saying something about, you can imagine how the sorrow we felt as a community, how deeply painful it was, blah, blah, blah. And then she stopped herself and said, oh, maybe you don't have to imagine it as the reader. Maybe you don't have to imagine it. Maybe you've also felt the pain of, having a group born your, or just in general, like you've also felt the pain. And I thought that was brilliant because in that moment, you as a reader are being validated by a character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and this is a prime example of how this character, she's very empathetic, and you can see the empathy in other parts of the book. So I think I just like her because she's empathetic. I would say that I'm an empathetic person.
Okay.
I like to consider people's opinions and people's perspective, and I think that's a good thing. And this, if I was a character, I would probably be Sashi because I would share my empathy with the reader as well.
Okay. Okay. I think that that encompasses the quote, put yourself in someone else's shoes, you know.
Yes.
I think we
Yes.
should do that more.
Even when you are in pain as well, like even when you are
Yes,
going through pain, I think that's
yes,
beautiful.
yes. And what is your comfort read?
Ooh. So I don't have a comfort read, I have a comfort author. So
Okay, okay.
my my comfort author is the Nigerian German author Efwa Traore.
Oh,
She's a Nigerian German author. I think she lives in Munich. Yeah, she lives in Munich or München. She lives
yeah,
in München.
yeah.
And I just like the characters. I like the stories that she tells. Her characters remind me of being a girl in Nigeria because most of our books are set primarily in Nigeria, some parts of like Europe as well, but most of our books are set primarily in Nigeria. And the way she writes her characters, the dialogue, it reminds me of just being a young girl in Nigeria. So she's my comfort author.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And then if your life right now was a book, what will the title be?
Okay, maybe like, figuring life out. Okay,
Okay.
that's very cliche. That's so
That will
cliche.
be actually that will be a self-help book with that title.
Do you know what? Given that on my channel, I have been very introspective and sharing thoughts nowadays, I find it ironic that I don't like self-help books. But, I'm not sharing advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts. So if you find it helpful, take it. But yeah, so I think just figuring life out is very cliche. I want something very unique.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I think reading your if you someone read the book that you wrote, it will be according to you. So that will make it unique, you know, the
Yeah, yeah,
title.
exactly. Fair,
Yeah.
fair. I don't know what it would be, but I guess maybe the journey to self-preservation. Yeah,
Okay.
let's bring it back, like journey to self-preservation or Aisha on a self-preservation journey.
Yes.
I don't know what
Yes.
that would look
Yes.
like, but yeah.
Cool. Cool. That sounds like a title, a book I would buy. Um,
Okay. I'll
and
keep it in mind.
yes. Oh, okay. And finally, what are you currently reading?
Okay, I think, we mentioned this a bit earlier, but this book I started and it's a very small book. A lot is going on, so I've not really been reading, unfortunately. So this book, the book of Khartoum, edited by Ralph Cormack and Max Schmuckler. This obviously, I want to read more Sudanese literature, and I need to do better. I'm not serious, so I need to do better.
Yeah.
I'm also listening to Azadi by Arundhati Roy, like I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Then the book of poems that I mentioned I was reading, it's called Wearing My Mother's Art by Sophia Thakur. She's a British, I think she's Asian British author. And I don't normally read poetry in general. They are very mixed bag for me. But
Yeah.
I just saw this one and I thought, oh, Wearing My Mother's Art, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm reading this. And lastly, because we are polygamous, right?
Yeah.
I'm reading this book called All Yours by Claudia Pinheiro.
Ah.
Yeah. So All Yours is a prequel to Time of the Flies, also by Claudia Pinheiro. And she wrote it, I think, 20 years apart. I think.
Ah.
I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
sure. But
Okay.
it's a very long time between when she wrote All Yours and when she wrote Time of the Flies. And I read Time of the Flies last year and loved it. It's a brilliant book. Anybody should read that book. And I decided, okay, let me try all yours. So those are all of the books I am reading.
Juggling.
Yeah, juggling. Hopefully I don't start a new book, but yeah.
No, what usually helps me, because I'm also a multiple reader, is I feel guilty when I see a book that I'd started and it's just staring at me. So it
This is why you should read ebooks so that you can't see them.
no, this has been really, really nice. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you so much as
And
well.
I will definitely share your, of course, where can people find you? You can let us know, people who want to listen to your finding
Thoughts.
yourself, your thoughts. And
Okay.
yeah.
Well, don't come to me for self-help, but you can come to me for ideas, like juggling ideas. I love doing that, and I'm really enjoying doing that these days.
Yeah.
So I am primarily on YouTube at That Other Nigerian Girl. That has been my online persona for since I was 15, maybe. So
Yeah.
you would not find if you find another That Other Nigerian Girl online, they are not real. I'm the one. Um, but yeah, you primarily find me there. Also on Instagram, but I don't use Instagram anymore. But if you want to check what the older version of me used to look like or my
Yeah.
artistic side, you can check on Instagram as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll definitely put down all your links, and also once you share with me the list of all these books that we've talked
Yeah,
about.
yeah. It's a long list of books.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining, and hope to see you soon, one day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank
Bye.
you.